My name's Ronnie, and oh, that's the wrong panel. I'm here for something else. We're talking Transformers, the panel that is more than meets the eye. I'm sorry that I'm required by Hasbro to say that the whole time. These gentlemen have so graciously agreed to come and answer questions about the art of Transformers, illustrating all the pitfalls. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, starting with at my left here.
Shearer and Grant. I'm not sure if you guys remember the before, but done a lot of concept work for the movies and things like that. A lot of behind-the-scenes stuff. Some stuff with Hasbro for Wycough and various brands.
I'm Brian Shearer, doing inks for IDW's Robots in Disguise, which I just got off of, and now I'm on More Than Meets the Eye.
I'm John Wycough, or Wacky, if you may know me as that. I've done inks for the movie stuff, More Than Meets the Eye, Robots in Disguise, a lot of what Guido does, and records. Woohoo!
Last Stand of the Records is then inked. Issue 1 through 3, Last Stand of the Record. Okay. So let's get started with really probably the biggest question. What is the difficulty between drawing robots that turn into cars as opposed to just basic humans? Like, what are the tricks? What are the difficulties? What's the stuff you didn't expect would be the hardest part?
There's a language to the style of Transformers that you really have to learn to. It's not just picking a pencil up and drawing some robots. Their proportions are very distinct. The style is very distinct, so you have to learn to draw them first before you can start moving them and things like that. So initially when I started the project a couple years ago, at least working with the Rockaware stuff, I had to invest a lot of time with learning just how to draw them without people familiar with it.
Brian, same question.
All the little gears and everything are, and it depends on who, as an inker, making these books, it just depends on who the penciler is. Some guys are way more detailed than others, so just getting a feel for if they kind of shorthand in some detail, knowing what they're talking, what they're meaning. I think just switching over from penciler to penciler is a challenge sometimes.
Wacky.
Some of it's similar to working over a person that would pencil people. I mean, they're robots, but they're robots that are technically alive. So it's like Brian said, when you ink them, you don't want to do it as tech that has dead feeling. Since they're alive, you want to add a lot of life to it, and a lot of times the pencilers will also. You don't want to treat it as pure tech. It's like Keron said, they move. So you want to keep everything as fluid. So it's kind of a blend, I would like to say. And it's like what Brian said, the different pencilers, some are more animated with certain things. Guido and Nick Roach, they have more animated faces. Whereas like Alex, he has a pure, it's almost like they're people faces, on the robot body. But it's just, like Ron said, from penciler to penciler, learning different, how they want stuff. Sometimes, they'll just imply because they know what you're going to do. Then sometimes if they don't, they'll just put stuff down and hope you do it the way they want them to do it. But it's live tech, I guess.
So with the inking and everything, what do y'all add to, like, when you get like the basic sketches? What do you guys add in, like, for like RID for More Than Meets the Eye?
We'll take Robots in Disguise, for example. There was a lot going on, and so you have to go in and kind of pull out, make sure that the forms are distinct, especially if there's a lot of fight scenes or things. You don't want the forms to run together. Basically, creating the depth is one of the most important things. And then, there's a lot of, the penciler will often leave a lot of damage or a lot of so he'll kind of leave that up to me. Sometimes he'll have a specific idea, but really the biggest challenge is just creating the depth and making sure everything is clear, reads clear. Because it can, especially when there's a lot of fights going on, that can be a little, it can get a little chaotic.
Yes, they'll leave certain things open. You want to keep on the page what the penciler intends. And then it's like, one thing I like to do, I like to texturize stuff. You know, I'll do scratch, I love to do scratches on battle worn. A lot of them, they'll imply to start some, and then you just want to keep their style and just something working around. You can add to it, like Brian said, with some of the battle scenes. And some of it, when you throw in some, you'll add blacks to it, it'll help pull certain things, you know, to the forefront that without it, would it would look like a big, instead of showing depth in the page.
I'm actually being told you have to push and hold the button on the microphone, as it's not really coming through. Sorry. It's a little technical thing. Sorry, guys. A little technical glitch. Wonderful stuff. I know with inkers, y'all, like I said, y'all deal with a little bit of a lot of the background stuff. Is anything else snuck into the backgrounds at times that, and I'm pointing at you, Johnny. I remember this conversation. But anything else snuck into the backgrounds, maybe that some eagle-eyed viewers may have recognized at points?
If you look at the second issue of the Transformers the movie is in Defiance. I think, yeah, second issue. In second issue, there was a lot of, I was working over Dan Connie, and he was doing literally breakdowns because he was so far behind. But I couldn't make some of it out. So in that panel, if you look, there's one panel, if you look close, Optimus is talking in the background, and you have a lot of robots. You know, Transformers there are Gundams. There's 2 separate Halo armors. I mean, literally. And then in issue 4, there was another. I mean, it was some breakdowns. The Decepticons were loading up to leave, and I put a lot of the drones because the wings, when they're in robot mode, take up a lot of space. So that just, you know, because it just took up a lot of space where you had war balloons and drones. And you hide little stuff. In almost every comic I try to put, did this especially with Noble Causes years ago, I'll put my name or my phone numbers in a bunch of books. You just have to
most of the time it's so close to the deadline, I don't think anybody right now has time, like on the books I'm on right now, to even think about that. We're just trying to get the book done. So, if there's anything in there I've inked it, didn't know.
For me, yeah, like you said, too busy hitting deadlines, so there's no time for secret messages or anything like that.
One of the, something like being a property of Hasbro, but also having to also handle with IDW, so you're sort of not so much serving 2 bosses as, I guess, maybe 2 sets of edits or editor's notes at times. Is there any issues like with that where Hasbro comes back and goes, no, let's not do this because we want this, we're expecting this in the toy coming up, or IDW is like Hasbro says. Anything like that?
I haven't run into anything like that, because I think, yeah, I mean, if I haven't seen any emails. I mean, we'll go back and forth with the penciler or the writer as we're going through, but I've never gotten any Hasbro notes. So,
No, I've never anything from Hasbro. In doing regulars, I'd get something from James when he would write something, you know, and Nick, that he was like, James would say, hey, can you put such and such here, or, you know, stuff like that, you know.
And I don't know if Hasbro's got, I don't know if they have more leeway. I mean, maybe they've had the property so long, they just have a good working relationship where they kind of know what what Hasbro wants. And, the only time I've ever run into anything with the licensor saying anything would be in Doctor Who. The BBC was real kind of people know their job and they know what they want.
For me, Hasbro's pretty lenient as far as being hands-on with direction. A lot of the stuff I do anyways is conceptual, so they're more open to just free ideas rather than hitting a certain mark or anything like that. And besides, most of the guys I work with Hasbro, they're artists as well, so they kind of understand the flow of creating and things like that.
You guys have like, you blew through all my questions. This is a lot, actually. Wow. I'm gonna open it up here, guys. You got artists here. Some talking points, questions, Q&A. Flash.
I guess it's the best, the easiest question to think of is, who's your favorite Transformer to draw?
And Soundwave. Never drawn him, but he's my favorite.
That's a good question. I should be prepared for this because the last show I was at, I got asked that probably 8 times. I don't remember what I said now. I think I did this right here. Like, I think, I mean, I would say Optimus, but I mean, that's kind of, who doesn't like Optimus? Megatron, yeah, I would probably say Megatron. Megatron's pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. He's Megatron. He's got his designs very rhythmic, so you can almost play around with shapes a little more with him, especially with his gun and his lower legs and things like that.
My favorite is, they're technically twins, well, not anymore, one's dead. Sunstreaker and Sideswipe, they've always been my favorite because when I was a kid, everything was about Lamborghinis, you know. And I loved doing it, but also hated. I was able to ink when Sunstreaker died, and I'll have Megatron. It was really cool because I got to do it, but I hated
Spoiler.
It's been like 4 years.
It's like spoiling the Wizard of Oz.
But those are my favorite now. If I got to do, especially the new Sideswipe, since he's a vet, if I was to do more new movie stuff, that would rock. I like vets. I mean, it's like a Lamborghini. How can you not like him? Like Dino, he's a Ferrari. How can you not like that?
Are there any Transformers that, piggybacking on his question, are there any Transformers that are particularly hard to draw? Like they have too many details, like the combined bots or something?
Devastator.
Prowler-stater now.
Oh yeah, Prowler-stater.
The movie Optimus.
Oh, anything movie.
Yeah, anything
I inked 1 page of the movie, one of the movie comics, and that took me 2 days, and I was like, I don't think I'm done.
Yeah, I agree. The movie stuff is pretty hard to, it's pretty time consuming. I still haven't figured out the movie guys yet. I think, and I've drawn them a lot, but they take a while to learn how to even be efficient with drawing them.
I'll give it to you in a second. Come on, big man.
Is Sound Blaster really cool?
Personally, Sound Blaster is awesome.
Yeah, I think it's really awesome too.
He rocks.
You would say he's a blast. Thanks. Right there. Did you see? All right. Sarah in the back.
What was your favorite, kind of piggybacking on those, your favorite concept to draw in terms of a Transformer in a little series? Like which one stood out for you the most?
Well, I mentioned Prowler-stater. I thought that was actually pretty cool. So I would say the most recent thing is that the whole Devastator and Prowl merging thing.
I don't know. I got to do some RC recently. RC's always cool. You You know, that's, you know, it was introduced at the end of, I guess you'd call my prime Transformer viewing years, you know, but I got the, I think, what was it? Robots in the Sky. Yeah, Robots in the Sky, she come, you know, I did an issue with her, and I was like, it was really cool.
The Rockaware series I did a couple years ago, they had an idea for the style, and so they kind of gave me some direction along with my own style. So having to, I guess, learn to draw life in them and things like that on those T-shirts. It's fun to kind of figure them out and learn how to put them in designs, vignette designs and things like that.
There's actually one actually for Brian, because I know you've drawn RC a little bit, maybe being sure because working on ID as the only female Transformer actually right now, or ever, in IDW's verse. She has to be feminine, but also kind of alien. What's kind of the difficulties that you have to face to kind of bring across that she is obviously, I mean, the lines obviously have to be different, but maintain some of that alienness in her.
So how do I maintain the alienness balanced with kind of making sure that she's
Obviously a woman, yeah.
Well, as she gets more in the distance, paying attention to the face, because you can really kind of screw that up, just kind of keeping her kind of feminine and robot at the same time. You know, it's a little challenging. Yeah, I mean, with as far as the body, the way she's put together, I mean, that's pretty straightforward. It's more the facial kind of features that you don't hear. And it's true with drawing any woman, you don't want to make the features too harsh. You can add a lot of lines and things, because then you're gonna make her look old or more masculine. So, like if it's a close-up, that's pretty easy. But if she's kind of doing stuff and getting angry and things, and she's obviously a robot, you can kind of, her femininity can kind of get lost in that robotness. So you just have to, you know, just be diligent to really pay attention when you get around the face, I think.
And Keron, actually, I have one question I did forget to ask you. You said you did a lot of concept work. Can you kind of walk us through what that entails in terms?
Usually I work with the producers of the movies and things like that. A lot of ground level stuff. The producer may have some ideas as far as using weapons, certain action sequences and things like that. So before even the writers is involved, they'll contact me and we'll kind of go through the process of some of their vision, and I try to realize their vision on paper, and they'll hand that to the writers, and the writers will kind of build off of the visuals and ideas that the producers may give to them. So those are the steps I take with movie stuff and things like that.
Do a lot of back and forth in the design process, like, you know, oh, do a little more like this, or is it just like?
Yeah, I'll get maybe 2 lines from the producers to what they want. Then I'll kind of run with what the vision is, at least what they say, and kind of how I picture it. I'll send a couple roughs in, some more refined pieces. They'll see it, hand it to the writer, or the producer may just react on what I send in. They'll either hand it to the writer will run with their ideas, and maybe they'll get inspired and generate some more ideas. And they'll come back to me, and I'll run off of what they shoot to me, and then it's pretty much like a building process like that, where it's producer first, then me, hand it to the writer. The writer will kind of run with what I have, send it back to me, then I'll build it some more, and just keep flowing until they run to production and things like that.
And throughout, you know, the comics, you always get those stories about, like, oh dear Lord, I have to draw this, or like, I got the art in to do the inks, and you know, we're 2 days until I have to get it in on time. What was like the best story, or like one of the stories you guys have that are just, I think it's like, oh my God, I have to draw this, and we want to win?
Well, let's see. That's a good question. I mean, Transformers, I think, on More Than Meets the Eye, that one was a little, I think I got a batch of pages in. I'm going to probably have 6 or 7 pages to do in like 5 or 6 days. But that deadline was blown already at that point. So yeah, I mean, I don't know with Transformers, I mean, it's always right up to the wire. I mean, I'll usually get the last page of pencils in like the day before my deadline is, so it's just the nature of comics. So, I think the craziest deadline I've ever had was actually in Dr. Who. I had to pencil and ink an issue in 2.5 weeks, and that's nuts. So, but fortunately, Transformers has been, I mean, it gets pretty hectic. There's a week where I'll work every day for 2 weeks, every day for 2 weeks straight, just trying to see that deadline coming. But, yeah.
Infestation 2. I was originally only going to ink Guido on the first issue, and he was going to do the second. But then he got behind. My original deadline was, it was December 2nd and be done by the 21st to do Infestation 2 number 1. Well, around the 6th of December, I got an email saying, well, we need you to ink number 2, and it needs to be in on the 23rd also. So that. I had to do ink those 2 issues in the same amount of time as the first, but I was already 5 days late, you know, and I didn't get it until the following Monday, so. Yes.
Yes, that's the good thing about having, we're in the same studio, so that's a good thing about having a studio. So if you get something like that, you can say, hey, can you help me out with a couple pages? Because it gets to a certain point where meeting the deadline is kind of the most important thing. So if you feed a couple pages and,
Yeah, that was when I missed those 2 doctor's appointments and then almost died the following January.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also when you're dying, it's good to know people to help you out with your work.
It's real short story. I missed doctor's appointment. They would have called it, went into septic shock, kidneys shutting down, they were shut down, but I got better.
But you met that deadline.
Yeah. Deadline was met.
Did IDW actually call you in the hospital? Yeah, what are those last pages?
We needed some changes.
Yeah.
So, because Transformers are so blocky and of course robotic and everything, what do you do to inject life into them?
Well, one of the things I do when inking is I don't rule every line, first of all. I mean, there's a tendency to go in and use guides for everything. And I only do that when it's a really long line. Just in circles, you can't fake circles because I just look for them. But my whole philosophy behind kind of inking them is that they're really, really old, first of all. They've been fighting this war forever, so they're not exactly in pristine shape. So, I mean, I'll freehand a lot of it and kind of give the lines a little more life. Unless it's something where you get to a certain point where you know you have to use guides. So, I mean, that's just one little way. And it takes some practice to learn how to do that. I mean, it's not just, you don't want it to look sketchy, obviously, but just giving the lines a little bounce here and there, and just kind of indicating somewhere is as far as the inking process, can go a long way to kind of making it look not like statues.
It's like, yeah, I'll do, it's like you said, unless it's a long line, I'm 90% maybe freehand quill, because that adds a little, depends on your paper also. You'll learn what you can get away with and how the paper will interact with the ink. And it's like he said, if you have a long line, you can, because they've been fighting for millennia, put a little jagged in it, it's got damage, and just keep going with it. And because stuff is shrunk down, 67% to 67%. It pulls everything together. It's like you said, just you learn what to do.
Yeah, and then you mentioned the quill. I don't know if y'all are familiar. Quills, you have you're dipping it. Those old like calligraphy kind of things. So it's usually pretty sharp white. You dip it in the ink and stuff, and that actually can work really well with transformers. I found.
Surprisingly.
Yeah. The end product looks. I mean, if you're obviously you have to know the tool and know how to use it, but it can actually come out really nice.
I mostly go from the shape of the characters, and kind of, I guess, try to have a rhythm to the lines. Almost evoke music with this stuff. That's kind of how I compose my pieces. I want you to hear the lines, so to speak. So a lot of just different elements in the characters, wings, legs, things like that. I try to have some harmony with whatever everything is moving in a certain rhythm. If that makes sense at all. Instead of just drawing a box standing, have a direction for the box. Where is it going? What is it doing? Things like that. Is it going left? Is it going right? Is it going up or down? And have the lines flow in that direction. So that's the easiest way to inject life into just a box sitting there.
Are the combiners hard to draw when you put in big mode?
Yes. Because you got all those different robots and all those different. Each arm and leg is a complete robot, so that can be just adds more detail to the overall thing. And then you have to worry about the size because they're huge. So then you've got perspective, and you got to make them look like they're really big, and everybody else looks smaller. So it introduces a whole other level of challenges.
Because each arm, is an individual robot, right? So that has to look like each robot, while it looks like one different robot all at once.
You guys just walk around cursing Hasbro for that one, don't you? Thank God.
Oh, when I was younger, I loved it. Superion was still my favorite.
I just love that thing. Craven?
Do you ever get to just manipulate some of the actual figures for references on the illustrations?
What do you mean?
Like you didn't actually sit down and play with any of the actual figures. When just cross-reference.
Like use it for models or something.
On how they manipulate, move, and
It depends on the figure.
right. I mean, if it's in current.
Like if it's something like they came out with the masterpiece collections, and those are really nice. I mean, you can. I haven't, but you could. It depends on obviously the figure.
I would just think y'all would have like a treasure trove of.
Oh, I do, but that's for playtime.
I'm tired of drawing Transformers. Time to play with Transformers.
Now, actually for G.I. Joe, yeah, you can pull out the vehicle, and yeah, you can ask Robert. He has tons of them. Sound effects too.